YouTube, hey, Casey Dimon here, TaxSaleAcademy.com. Thank you so much for joining me as I record this episode for the Tax Sale Podcast. If you enjoy listening to podcasts on the go, be sure to download us on your favorite podcasting platform at TaxSalePodcast.com. That's TaxSalePodcast.com. Let's go ahead and switch on over to the audio portion of the podcast. Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. I'm Casey Dimon. I'm a tax sale veteran, expert, and trainer, author of the Tax Sale Playbook, founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. And as always, at the conclusion of this podcast, if you're looking to learn more about investing in tax-defaulted real estate, head on over to TaxSaleAcademy.com. Again, that's TaxSaleAcademy.com. All right, let's get to today's episode. Today's title is Practice Makes Perfect Profits. Try saying that 5 times fast, right? So I'm going to start this podcast with a seemingly non-tax sale related story, and it'll all tie in. Okay, so about 6 or 7 years ago, I started the process to become a private pilot. Now, aviation's always interested me, so I set aside some time and some money to earn my private pilot certificate. So one of the big steps for a student is the first time they fly by themselves, which is known as soloing for pretty obvious reasons. Prior to this point, you have an instructor sitting right next to you the entire time to basically ensure that you don't fly that plane into the ground. Now, the way it works is that whenever that instructor thinks you're ready to solo, and you can do so safely, he'll let you solo. Prior to that point, you do touch and goes. And what these are is where you take off, you circle around the airport, you land, your wheels will touch, and you take off again. You circle around the airport, your wheels touch, you take off again. And you don't do this like 2 or 3 times before you solo. You do it like 30, 40, 50 times over and over and over again until your instructor says you're ready to solo. Then you take off by yourself, you do it alone, and you're done, right? Your solo is complete. Now, the deal is, when it comes to aviation, you practice over and over and over again. And you literally practice so you don't kill yourself, right? The difference with practice and no practice is life and death in aviation. But people also practice for everything. Sports, driving, singing, dancing, speaking. You practice so much stuff. So tell me this. Why the heck wouldn't you practice tax sale investing? This concept seems to be so lost for so many new and eager investors, right? You practice your golf swing or your 2-step, where the result probably will make 0 difference in your life. But you won't take the time to practice how to invest in tax-defaulted real estate. Now, it might not be life and death, but it will definitely make the difference between success and no success. So exactly how should we practice, and how can we practice as tax sale investors? And when should you practice? And exactly who should practice? Is it just for the beginners, or do veterans need to practice as well? Well, the truth is, every single tax sale investor should be doing some form of practicing. As a new investor, you really need to learn this business first and foremost to make sure that you're actually practicing correctly, right? What's the saying? It's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. And in this case, we're going to add that other piece. So perfect practice makes perfect profits, right? Again, that's a mouthful, but that's what it boils down to. All right, so once you learn this business, begin practicing. And we'll talk exactly how to practice momentarily, but I want to make it very clear that I'm not talking to just the new investors, right? In fact, I've been in this business for 16 years now, and I practice my skill, my craft, every single day. So regardless of your experience levels, it's important that you continue to practice being a tax sale investor every day, okay? So let's talk about a few ways that you can practice as a tax sale investor. The first one is by researching properties. It doesn't matter if you're completely new to real estate research, or if you've researched properties for years and years and years. It's time to practice. And maybe you don't even start with the tax sale list, right? Take the home you live in and research it. What are the specifics on that home? What's the square footage? What does the county say about the improvements? How about the land? How big is it? How's it zoned? What else can you learn from researching the piece of property or the home that you live in, right? From there, maybe take your neighbor's house and study it. Then maybe a relative or a friend's house. Then obviously start researching that tax sale list. This is a great way to take the information that you find online and apply it to what you know in person. All right, number 2, after you spend time doing a little bit of research, drive by some properties. Maybe it's just the generic properties that you previously researched, like a friend's house, right? You drive by it and you look with a different viewpoint from it. Or perhaps it is the time to start looking at an actual tax sale list and researching those specific properties and driving by those. When you drive by these properties, write down what you're seeing and anything that stands out or isn't what you expected. If you remember the Tax Sale Academy, you know that we have an entire spreadsheet on what exactly you're looking for. If you're not a member, you're essentially just comparing what you find online to what you see in person. By researching these properties and then driving by them, it will give you quite a bit of insight on how to become a better researcher. You'll eventually get to the point where you'll be able to better utilize the information that you do find online, which of course is going to help you be a better and more efficient researcher. Number 3, another way, and this is something that I really push for people, attend auctions. This is especially important if you're just starting out. An auction can be a very intimidating place, especially when you walk into one for the first time and you plan on buying some properties. You don't know what to think. Guys, I remember my first auction very, very well, and boy, was I nervous. The one way to combat this nervousness is to ensure that you know what you're doing, that you're familiar with the process, right? This will also help make sure that you're successful moving forward, okay? Get there and register. Sit down, listen to the rules, pay close attention to what other attendees ask, all their questions, all that good stuff. Listen to the answers. There's so much you can learn just by listening to what's going on in that room. So pay attention to what people are saying to the auctioneer, what stuff's selling for, what stuff's not selling for, what they're selling between themselves, right? Listen to the conversation, to the chatter in the room. See if anything surprises you or you're shocked about anything, right? Learn as much as you can by attending auctions. Number 4, after the auction that you attend, strike up a conversation with another investor, right? Talk to them. See if they can provide you any assistance whatsoever. Obviously, they might not be, always more experienced than you, but maybe they have different objectives than you that you can learn from, okay? Maybe you can learn from their viewpoints. Maybe they come from a different background that they can help you out. Guys, have an open mind and learn from others. It's also a tremendous networking opportunity at every single auction. Not only can you learn from them, you can also maybe add them to your phone. Get their phone number in case you need them in the future. They can help you out, or maybe you can help them out. Don't always make it, don't walk up to somebody and try to make it feel uncomfortable because you're forcing a conversation. But if there's an opportunity to strike up a conversation, then do so, even if it means you have to come out of your shell. There isn't a better place to network as a tax sale investor than at a tax sale auction. And as much as you want to think it right now, your competition, well, they're probably going to be pretty friendly to you. Number 5. The last way that we're going to be discussing today is by following the market. Practice learning about different areas of the county, of different subdivisions, about different markets. Guys, on the day I recorded this podcast, I spent half of the day, I spent all morning learning about an area that I've never invested in. I researched what properties were selling, what wasn't selling, how quickly stuff was selling. Then I drove the areas. I figured out the ages of the home, what the typical issues are, that kind of stuff. I focused on what I was doing. I dug in and I learned more about one specific area of the county than I had ever learned before, right? And we're talking about like 2 or 3 small neighborhoods. We're not talking about like a northeast section of county or anything like that. We're talking 2 or 3 just small neighborhoods. But I can assure you, the next time that a piece of property pops up in one of those neighborhoods, I'll probably know more about that neighborhood than just about anybody else in the room. Educate yourself. And that's probably a good way to conclude this podcast. I could summarize this by saying you need to get involved in this business in every way imaginable. Actually become a tax sale investor in practice, even if it means you don't invest a single dime. Guys, don't just sit on the sidelines telling yourself that you're going to start one day, because that day might never come. You might just keep pushing it off more and more and more. Make that one day today. Get started right now. Do the 5 things that I mentioned in this podcast and give yourself a leg up as you move forward. You might not be investing a single dime, but you're investing in yourself and you're learning this business just by practicing. Again, the 5 things that we discussed is to research properties, drive by the properties, attend auctions, talk with other investors, and then follow the market. And every single one of these things is completely free, and these are things that you can start right now, no matter how much money you have to invest. Not sure the specifics on how to research, what to look for, that kind of stuff. Guys, we have loads and loads of free resources over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com taxsale academy. Another awesome resource is the TaxSale Playbook, which is getting unreal responses, guys. This book is completely free. All that we ask is your help with shipping. I've got stacks and stacks of these books that I bought for you. Just help me get it from my warehouse to your front door. And if you're in the United States, that's only $4.97. And you can get this book at taxsaleacademy.com. Then obviously, if you want that step-by-step comprehensive training and you enjoy the way that we teach, then consider becoming a member of the Academy at taxsaleacademy.com and clicking on that join button. Guys, that's it for today's podcast. Before I end, I want to ask a very quick favor. We provide lots of completely free training on tax sale investing to get your way towards that tax sale success that you desire. All that we ask in return is that you'll subscribe to us. And if you don't mind, please leave us a positive rating just to let us know that you're enjoying our content, so we'll be able to provide more and more of these training videos for you. Take care, guys, and make it a successful day. See ya.